Hello there, and here we go again with another video. This is Luxury Wire, where people come to be inspired and to inspire. And today we're going to dig into something that's not often discussed. People mostly talk about how to get rich, but talking about safeguarding wealth doesn't seem to be too common. What would you do if you suddenly lost all the money you've accrued this far? What would you think? That is not so good, I guess, but it's very easy to lose all of your wealth. In actuality, a lot of people are currently experiencing this. Anil Ambani, who was ranked 6th in terms of wealth, is a prime example of a billionaire whose prime years are now behind him, owing to his quick decline from a $42 billion riches to nothing. You heard correctly. Mr. Anil, the youngest sibling of Mukesh Ambani, the richest man in Asia, is currently impoverished. He informed a UK court that his net worth had fallen to zero in 2020 and disclosed to Chinese banks that he was a pauper. And just in case I scared you about the guy, he's okay. Even if he will recover, it is a classic case of a millionaire losing everything. But enough about riches being lost. Today's topic is how to keep it. Here are 15 smart strategies to protect your money so you don't become as poor as Mr. Anil. Let's get started. First, practice wise money management. This one right here is so apparent that it had to be at the top. And consider this, if you have no knowledge of money management, how can you protect your wealth? You see, having excellent money management skills does more than only enable you to accumulate riches. You can keep it because of it. You must be aware that earning money is only half the battle. The other half is maintaining it. If you weren't aware of it before, you are now. The truth is that creating a good budget is by far the most effective strategy to manage your finances. Certainly, creating a budget feels constrictive. After all, why would you give up the ability to spend money any way you want? But resist adopting that kind of reasoning. Maintaining a sound budget allows you to stay on top of your finances, which greatly aids in keeping the money you've accumulated through time. Second, increase your income. Don't come at us right away. What does boosting my income have to do with protecting it? I know you're wondering. Well, allow me to elaborate. With a higher income, you won't be depleting your net worth by spending from savings, taking on debt, or selling some assets. Additionally, having more money means you may save more and invest it for even better returns. Let's now talk about some tangible ways to increase your income. You might ask for a pay raise at work, turn your passion into a source of income by becoming a writer, an editor, a presenter, or other skilled profession, or start another type of passive income activity. Third, make prudent financial decisions. Yes, making intelligent investments is a terrific strategy to protect your cash. Let me explain why. Wealth increases when money is wisely invested. You won't stay stationary at point B, or worse, return to position B, if you started from point B, since wise investments will move you to point C. This information is rather fundamental. Fourth, increase your variety. Do you remember the tale of Patricia Kluge? No? Well, allow me to inform you. Thus, John W. Kluge, a former $5 billion fortune and the wealthiest man in America, was married to Patricia, a former heiress and model. Since this occurred in the 1980s, the couple's divorce occurred about 1990, and Patricia received a sizable annual settlement of $1 million. Patricia, who had caught the entrepreneurial bug, spent the majority of the proceeds from her divorce in a vineyard, which enjoyed some success for a while before going into the toilet and losing most of her money. Patricia even had to sell some of her jewelry and works of art at an auction. What can we conclude from this? You must make several investments. Spread your money out over numerous opportunities such as the stock market or real estate, as opposed to putting everything into one basket. Your eggs shouldn't be all in one basket. That proverb is already well known. Fifth, work with a reputable CPA and follow their advice. Being ahead of the taxman is a fantastic method to save riches. The best way to accomplish this is by working with a competent accountant and tax expert. In case you didn't know, a CPA will advise you on legal ways to lower your tax burden and is constantly up to date with changes in tax laws. As a result, you get to escape tax-related problems, which means you won't have to pay penalties that can deplete your net worth. Sixth, purchase insurance. Although it may not have occurred to you, protecting your assets is a great strategy to maintain your wealth. especially as climate change worsens. There is now a higher chance that your home or investment properties will be damaged by disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, hailstorms, or flooding. Even though having insurance will hurt, you will receive the better care. If you aren't, you can find yourself with a lot of damage and few choices. 7th, get solid legal representation. Every day, wealthy people appear in court. Yes, it is frequently true that the top is a lonely place to be. They may not have told you, however, that there is a lot of litigation at the top. Whether you like it or not, once you succeed, your neighbors, former co-workers, random strangers, your security detail, and the list goes on, become targets. The driving force is primarily a portion or maybe all of your riches, and for that reason, you should hire a lawyer and surround yourself with the best legal minds. They will support you in fending off predators and will also help you navigate commercial agreements. Not to mention, they'll let you know when to keep your mouth shut so you don't lose half of your money. Having an estate plan is the 8th tip. Want a justification for making an estate plan? How about 5 then? Asset protection is a benefit of estate planning. Create a strategy for your legacy to continue after your passing, offer tax advantages, support your chosen cause, and protect your family from going to probate court. Don't you think these are all excellent approaches to protect your cash now? 9th, decide on executors and trustees carefully. It all comes down to who you select to serve as your estate's executor or trustee if you want to preserve your fortune. Yes, you could prefer to travel with a relative whom you feel a sense of familiarity with. However, this choice may still prove problematic because family members may cast judgment on you based on their own biases. Decide on a professional, such as a lawyer, to serve as your executor or choose a trust entity to oversee your trust in order to ensure openness. 10th, make a prenuptial agreement. Yes, a prenuptial agreement is another option to protect your riches. Without intending to sound pessimistic, a relationship could end up in the mud with some name-calling and going for each other's throats, or at the very least, property, even though it might begin with butterflies and rainbows. But if you had a prenup, you wouldn't have to worry about anything else during these tough times. Your assets and property will at least be protected. 11th, create a will of testament. Everyone avoids thinking about death, but since it is unavoidable, making a will is essential. A will gives you the option to define your debts as well as how you want your possessions distributed after death. And let me just give you a piece of advice. You need to continually revise your will if you want your possessions to be passed down to your family. By doing this, you may protect your fortune and pass it on in the way that suits you. 12th, keep an eye on your assets. The last thing you want to happen is for your assets to disappear simply because you lack current paperwork or are unaware of their whereabouts. It's not necessary to go above and beyond. You might begin by making copies of crucial documents and keeping them in a secure location. These may include documents related to insurance, withdrawals, bank accounts, retirement contributions, real estate purchases, powers of attorneys, and so on. You have a solid grip on your riches when these papers are organized and securely kept. 13th, establish a reserve fund. Build an emergency fund to cover 3 to 6 of your family's costs in case you lose your job or become unable to work in order to protect your wealth. You ought to be making one that could protect you for even longer. You won't jeopardize your net worth by selling off items, taking out loans, or using your investment money to cover you, though, if you have an emergency fund in place. 14th, revent putting your estate as the recipient of a life insurance policy. I'll go into further detail about this. Your life insurance plan's taxability is greatly influenced by the name of the nominee on the policy. The insurance proceeds will frequently not be subject to taxes if you designate a specific person as the beneficiary. However, if you designate your estate as the beneficiary, your insurance proceeds will be added to the gross value of your estate and taxed as part of that estate's overall value. The former is unquestionably the wiser course of action over the latter. 15th, practice charity. Now, how does giving away your riches aid in its preservation? It seems a little contradictory to give it away, doesn't it? Well, not precisely, and let me explain why. Let's call it a loophole in the United States' IRS regulations that permits you to conserve money by giving your fortune to family and others. You see, the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, levies a gift tax on highly valued assets, such as a house, enormous sums of money, and so forth. There is, however, a limit to this. You can offer gifts up to that maximum without paying any tax. The annual gift tax exemption was increased to $15,000 for individuals and $30,000 for couples in 2021. Any underutilized asset may be donated as a gift to a family member or another individual without being taxed. Here's the question for you today. In your opinion, what is the best strategy to protect wealth? Please share your thoughts in the comments because we love to hear from all of you. Instilling financial responsibility in your children is yet another crucial step. There's this story, alright? I'm not sure whether you've heard of it, but it's all about railroad and shipping magnate Cornelius Vanderbilt. According to legend, he bequeathed his oldest son a sizable portion of his $95 million inheritance when he passed away in 1877. In modern currency, this fortune is now worth more than $2 billion. All of his other children received smaller bequests from him, but his eldest son, who received the majority of his fortune, inherited his father's entrepreneurial spirit. In fact, he increased his sizable inheritance by twofold in the 10 years that followed his father's passing, accumulating the biggest wealth in the world at the time. However, after a short period of time, his children and the Commodore's grandchildren had almost completely wasted it. That's correct. Then what lesson should we draw from this experience? You must impart your financial wisdom and knowledge to your kids if you want your money to last for several generations. We now want to learn about any further strategies for asset preservation that you have developed via personal experience. We appreciate you spending time with us today. Every single one of you is appreciated. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon, and consider subscribing to our channel if you thought it was helpful. And we'll see you on our next video.